NBA or NFL. 36 have been accused of spousal abuse. 7 have been arrested for fraud. 19 have been accused of writing bad checks. 117 have directly or indirectly been bankrupted at least 2 businesses. 3 have done time for assault. 71, I repeat, 71 cannot get a credit card due to their bad credit. 14 have been arrested on drug-related charges. 8 have been arrested for shoplifting. 21 currently are defendants in lawsuits, and 84 have been arrested for drunk driving in the last year. How many of you think NBA? How many of you think NFL? Well, the answer is neither. It's the 435 members of the United States Congress.
Anyone surprised by that? Not me. I love that little video clip. That's excellent, isn't it? Congress. Get them all. Republicans, Democrats alike, get them all. I am Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. Thanks for joining me this morning. I know it's Friday. Col Joe Adams is going to be popping in here in about 5 minutes. Good morning, Kim. Hopefully you guys are all doing good. And I apologize if I look like a mess. I had like 5 minutes to put some makeup on this morning. So I just did my best. And I got back here and I'm like, oh my gosh, I bought this new lip tint and it looks so fuchsia, which I do not like. But you know what? We're just going to go with it. Lots to talk about today. As you know, I'm not going to have a show on Monday. I'm going in for my biopsy on Monday. Yesterday, I had my what they call a Super D CT scan, and it's some type of a super dimensional. And it's a very unique process. They don't have it everywhere. They do have it at St. Louis University, and it's almost like a GPS system to the different things in your body, so they can use a robot to go in and take these samples. But I'm feeling really good about things. My brain scan was clear, nothing there but some sinus issues, which I've had periodically, I think, my whole life. So things are looking good. You know, I ate a bunch of papaya seeds. So we'll see if on Monday, if everything is good and is clear, probably take a few days to get some results back. We'll know the papaya seeds work. So we'll see how things work out. Good morning, Dottie. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Karen. Lots of things to talk about today, clearly. Col Joe Adams joining us in about 3 minutes. I had a lot of photos. I hope my photos show up today. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Some of the things I want to talk today about is the growing violence on the left. I mean, it's really outrageous. I don't know how we're going to get past some of this. Yesterday, we had Phoenix Ickner, that's his name, the shooter at Florida State University, which is, he despises Donald Trump. He despises everything we stand for. You know, I can think of, what was there, at least 4 incidents last week alone in which violent leftists, you know, murdered someone. I mean, it's insane. When is it going to stop? It's not going to stop. It's just getting started. It's not going to stop. It's like the domino effect. People have reached that breaking point. We knew this was going to happen. We talked about it before the election. We knew this was going to happen. We knew that it would be a difficult situation because a lot of these people, they've reached that breaking point. And it's the domino effect. Okay, well, this person reached their breaking point today. They went out and committed a school shooting. Tomorrow, this person has reached their breaking point. They killed their parents so that they could, you know, potentially go out and assassinate Donald Trump. You know, we're going to continue to see people reach these breaking points where they have just had enough, and there's nothing else they can do but act out violently. And the only thing you can do is be prepared for it. That's it. There's nothing else you can do. Is it going to happen in your community? At some point, probably so. You know, hopefully we can touch base on that with Col Joe Adams when he joins us. Some of the other things I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about this, you know, for a little bit of time. Who's the victim? Is it Austin Metcalf or is it Karmelo Anthony? I would really like to know who the victim is here, because we have a situation, of course, where Austin Metcalf, of course, the teen who was stabbed at the track meet in Texas, where he lost his life, just a young guy at his track meet. Another guy, Karmelo Anthony, brings a knife to a track meet. This is a high school track meet. And we know how that ended. And I'm going to play a couple video snippets from Karmelo Anthony's family and some of the things they're posting. Now, let's remember that they hired a PR team. And that PR team, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, was to turn the tables and to paint Karmelo Anthony as the victim and to portray Austin Metcalf as the aggressor. And I'll tell you quite honestly, there's been so much back and forth that I don't yet even know what the real story is. But we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about, of course, what took place in El Salvador yesterday, a little Mexican fiesta with some margaritas and tortillas and salsa. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. But first, we have Col Joe Adams joining us. He's going to step in now. Let me run in and grab him, our patriot. Let's see here. Good morning, Col Joe Adams. I am so happy to see you this morning. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Wonderfully, wonderfully. So happy to have you. Thank you. You know, I have to say this, Col Joe Adams. Not only is he, obviously a patriot with the Washington Guard and everything he's done for this country, but he is so patient with me because every week I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to have a show on Wednesday. I've got to work or I've got these medical things going on. So thank you so much for your patience and for joining us today.
Well, I don't know about patience. Like one buzzard said to the other buzzard, hell with patience, just go out and kill something. So anyway, I said, I already said anyway, the producer's going crazy. A lot of funny stuff. Comedy Central this week. The Islam community in Plano, Texas. EPIC, they call it. What does the EP stand for? Now, IC is Islam community. Anyway, here I go again. I come up with my own fake news that you can believe, and I'm referring to the Plano city they're building for strictly Islamic people. So fake news you can believe is that through information that I received, Barack Obama is going to be there for the ribbon cutting. But again, that's fake
That
news.
didn't surprise me.
No, fake news you can believe. Fake news. So, the Democrats continue with their lie. They lie about everything. The old story, how can you tell if a Democrat's lying if they're speaking, right? So I hope people took the time to watch Biden's appearance in public, first time since the elections, and to watch it. I talked to a couple of people in the Guard, and they said, "Oh, we're not watching that guy." I said, "No, you need to watch that." Now, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi was screaming like, "Who cut him loose? How did he get out of the basement?" In the Secret Service, like, how did he get loose? I thought you were watching him. I took a break and I came back and the guy's gone. He's back on TV. He didn't do the Democrats any favors.
No,
He pointed out the fact that even the 30% that support the Democrats, even they're dysfunctional. Nobody knows what's going on. So he continues. Actually hurt. Maybe it was intentional, revenge. But there are actually some rumors of him talking about running for president again. I hope he does. I love that little news clip that you got, little video you played before the show came on.
Yes.
And as soon as I started hearing the crimes that were committed, I knew where it was going.
Yeah.
When the guy said NFL or NBA, I'm going, nope, Congress. And sure enough,
Congress.
it was Congress.
Col Adams, I don't know if you caught it or not, but Joe Biden, I played the clip on my Facebook page. During his speech, he referred to Black people as colored twice. And then he stopped himself. And I mean, the guy is racist to the core. He always has been. But yet he somehow is the champion of the Democrats.
And now there was somebody off camera going, stop. So anyway, I thought it was hilarious. I watched it 3 times. I'm thinking, what are you trying to do? He's just an idiot. I love the Maryland senator going down to El Salvador. Now, if that don't make them look like a bunch of fools, they didn't win anybody over that. They go down, and now we find out that the senator and the gang member went out and had margaritas. But then the
They
president
certainly
of El
did.
Salvador, yeah, they went out and had drinks, right? So much for that torture chamber down there. But the president of El Salvador said, well, now that he's here and he's a El Salvadorian citizen, he's going to stay here. So good for him. I'm sure Donald Trump and he had a little side deal going on to keep that guy down there. But they're ridiculous, and they make themselves look stupid. At the same time, the lady up from Maryland, where her daughter was slaughtered by an illegal, he didn't stand by them. You know, the senator actually said he's going down to stand up for the family and support them. What about the support of the American citizen, little girl who got raped and slaughtered in his own state?
I don't, Colonel Adams, I don't understand it. It was Senator Van Hollen, and he went down to see Kilmar Abrego Garcia, of course, who, Democrats want to say, oh, he was wrongly sent to El Salvador, and so therefore we have to bring him back. This guy is a confirmed member of MS-13, confirmed. He's a criminal. He's a criminal, and I actually know people personally who are defending this guy. They're saying, oh, and these are people who claim they are advocates of victims of domestic violence, but yet they are still somehow trying to protect this guy. And yes, Senator Van Hollen went down to El Salvador. He had margaritas with Garcia, and then he went back to prison. Oh yeah, he looks fine. Him and all of his tattoos, he looks great. His MS-13 gang tattoos. It is a complete travesty. And you know what? At the taxpayer expense at that.
Yeah, but I mean, the Democrats' policies are based on lies, but to make a stupid move like that, I mean, if they had a public relations person, they'd be losing their mind. I mean, it got the opposite effect of what it was meant for. What it was meant for, the Democrats want the crime element back in this country to continue the chaos and cause problems for Trump. This is all directed at Trump. They would rather have these murderer and rapists and extortionists and gang members in the United States just to create chaos to get in between the public and Trump. It's all part of their plan, but their plan's going wrong, and they don't see it. The judges appointed by Biden, these guys they're traitors. This is treasonous. And I saw where who's the general? Who's the general?
General Flynn.
Oh yeah, see where General Flynn's calling to have Obama and Comey and Susan Rice, McCabe, and Brennan indicted for treason.
I hope it happens.
I do too.
I hope it won't happen, but I hope it happens.
And if we did the right thing in this country, which we've got to start doing, that would be the right thing. These people are treasonous. But I do find it interesting that he never mentioned Biden. Biden being the vice president, why didn't he mention Biden? And the reason is because Biden was on the outside.
Right.
They couldn't trust Biden. He wasn't part of that. He was not part of it. He couldn't comprehend taking over the United States. Biden was never mentioned. So that's an indicator. The track meet thing. Now I don't know if I didn't verify this. I just thought it was typical that the kid who stabbed the other kid and murdered him right there on the track, supposedly he had a $500,000 bond. Why is he out anyway?
Well, they reduced it to $250,000, and he is out. It's Karmelo Anthony.
But I read where, and I'm saying I didn't verify this. I just saw it, that they actually had raised through GoFundMe and all that $500,000 for his defense. Also, I read where his family now drives a $150,000 custom Cadillac with all the whistles and bells. I don't know if that's true, but based on everything else that's happening, it's maybe fake news that you can believe, and I believe that.
And we're going to talk about that. I won't take up your time playing all my videos and things, but we are going to talk about that, Colonel Adams, because the family did raise a significant amount of money, and now there's a lot going back and forth. And quite honestly, I don't know what the truth is. Now I'm going to play a video here shortly. Again, I won't take up your time by playing videos, but Karmelo Anthony's mother gave a very teary press conference in which she claimed that not one penny was spent out of that fund that she doesn't yet have access to that fund. We don't know what's true and what's not true, quite honestly. I don't think anyone knows what's true and what's not true. What I do know is that Karmelo Anthony's family hired a PR firm, and they are clearly, in my opinion, trying to turn the tables and make it look like Metcalf is the aggressor and that Anthony is the victim.
Yeah, who's dead?
That's
Who's
right.
dead? You can play that after I get off. Let me lead this by saying that tomorrow should be declared a federal national holiday. Does anybody know why? Of course, they're all out there Googling right now. Allison, where are you at? And I'll get into that. One thing I want to address is about, I've been talking to Border Patrol about the fence, and I was asking them how they've militarized the area that I worked in for 12 years. And they said the biggest problem they've got right now is with the Indian reservations. Now, when you drive through the desert, there's all kinds of spray painting on water tanks and stuff. It says the Anastasi is the cartel. Anastasi. Of course, the bordering my area of operation was the Tejano Indian Reservation. Now, understand, Border Patrol can't go on that reservation unless they get permission. They can't. There's a little mountain called Kit Peak, 7,000 feet high, right? Kit Peak is in the reservation, and it borders the reservations going back into the United States, and it's got a clear shot of the border for hundreds of miles. Now, Kit Peak is a world-renowned observatory to study the sun. There's not just one telescope, there's several telescopes. So I was up there and I asked them, I asked Border Patrol, I said, well, you can look right into Mexico from that mountain for hundreds of miles. Why don't you guys use that to spot them coming through the reservation and any other areas? They said, we're not allowed to. The Indians won't let us. That's Indian land. We lease it. We got a 99-year lease on it, and they won't give us access. Now, why wouldn't they give them access to spot the cartel coming through the border? Because they're a part of it. They're making money.
I have not heard that or thought of it. Yeah.
Most of the pickups out of the Tucson sector right now is on the outside, the further north perimeter of the Tejano reservation. So they're actually getting through there, getting up several miles, about 65 miles before they're apprehended. So some of those numbers about apprehensions on the border come from once the cartel and the smugglers leave the reservation and they get busted. But we're not allowed on that property, which should change. This is a matter of national defense.
Agreed.
But the Indians, I promise you, now not all the Indians, but the upper, the people that own the casino in Tucson, somehow they're involved. Now that money doesn't water down to the average poor Indian out there, and they are poor. It's terrible, their conditions. And it's always been that way. But if you look no further, if they really want to stop that entire border, they're going to have to do something about the Indian reservations because they're involved with the cartel. And why wouldn't they be? They're dirt poor. All right. Tomorrow and today is a very important day in history. 250 years ago today, the British regulars started leaving Boston to go and engage the stores and the caches of the militias. The British got informed that the militias were stockpiling weapons, ammunition, gunpowder, flour, wooden bowls, and in one cache they found was 15,000 canteens. Now, why does a militia need 15,000 canteens? Because they were getting ready. So, and tomorrow should be a national holiday, federal holiday, because tomorrow was the first military engagement against the British at Concord and Lexington.
That's right. 250 years.
250 years ago tomorrow. I mean, it gives me cold chills because, my grandfather was involved in that.
Mine also, Colonel Adams. Maybe they knew each other. Mine was also.
But today also, Paul Revere makes his ride. The lanterns are in the cathedral in the top of the steeple. One is by land, two is by sea, and they're coming by land. Paul Revere makes the ride through all the villages and say the British are coming, the British are coming. That happens today.
Isn't that crazy? I'm so glad you brought this up because I was planning on talking about it at the end of the show. And it is a very momentous occasion. And Colonel Adams, just like you, my many times great grandfather, Bradley Hassell, was a revolutionary soldier. And he came over from Barbados, which is where the part of the Hassell family started. And he fought in that war. And, there's that Daughters of the Revolution group that you can join. It's pretty interesting. And, we have to be so proud of our ancestors and everyone that fought in that war.
Yeah, Paul actually went to Sam Adams, my grandfather, and said, hey, it's happening. Now's the time. Get the militia out. And word got out. The militia gathered together at Lexington and Concord and killed the first British soldiers. It was a mess. A lot of people died, and a lot of Americans died too. And the houses were burned. The stores were burned. When I say stores, that's the things that they were cashing. So, baby, as of tomorrow, baby, it is on. The beginning of the United States.
And look how far we've come.
And what brought it to mind was tomorrow's muster. My militia's training tomorrow. I said, what about that date? I said, hold on a second. That's Lexington and Concord. So what a timely event for us to have a muster on the same day, 250 years later, for the same reason.
Yes.
Getting prepared. Now, speaking of that, here's an interesting thing. Remember the name Nathan Hale? He was hung in 1776 for being a spy in New York, because we knew New York, which was eventually, broke the back of the British when we finally defeated them in New York. Nathan Hale was hanged as a spy by the British, and he's the one who said, I regret that I only have one life to give for my country. He was he was 21 years old. People should think about that.
Yes, absolutely. So
that was his last words, and then they hung him.
Terrible.
Okay, tomorrow's muster in Washington, Missouri's compound, the headquarters. These are the things they're going to train on. It's like a market. There's different skill levels, different things. They move around from one to the next. Great idea. Tomorrow's intro to beekeeping. Now, the thing good about that is the fact that by intro to beekeeping, now you'll also be able to understand why bees are so important to us. Okay.
Yeah.
Cleaning firearms, soil. You're always talking about dirt. Soil foundation for plants. Starting IVs, very important, because we have great medical personnel. And one of the number one paramedics in the city of St. Louis is our instructor in charge of medicine. Starting RVs, herbal medicine, which is huge.
I love that.
Not only now, but in the future. And go bags. So the people who don't understand what a go bag is, it's the bag that you have packed that makes you self-sufficient for 72 hours until the rest of the militia show up to help you. If you have to go out that door and go somewhere, you got your go bag. We also have a thing called get home bags, which is something you carry with you in your car because if something happens, you have to go cross country or whatever, enough logistics to get you home. So those are the things we're training tomorrow. You want to check it out, thewashingtonguard.com, and go to calendar events, and it's right there. But thanks for listening to me, and think about tomorrow.
And no question about it, Colonel Joe Adams. We will absolutely be thinking about tomorrow. And of course, Easter is Sunday. We'll be thinking about Easter too. And I'll tell you why. I hope that everyone comes out and checks out your muster. They have to email you first at thewashingtonguard.com. And I'll tell you what, that's going to be fantastic. Do you know there's a lot of people who in the know who say that if the bees die out, humans will have 4 years to survive, maybe 4 years to survive. I can't imagine anything better than teaching a class about beekeeping. It's something we all should be doing. We may not all be successful at it, but we should all at least be trying.
Yes, knowledge is strength. Anyways, so I said that word again. And, by the way, then Deanna, in her first
I was going to ask
competition, people was so proficient that they were shocked. She did great.
I love it.
I mean,
Congratulations,
she pulled a reload.
Deanna.
She pulled
I
a
hear
she pulled yeah she was moving and pulled a reload that is world class. I mean, she was reloaded in a second and a half, and that takes practice. People, love you all. Thanks for listening in. Think about tomorrow. Think about what they went through. Think about Nathan Hale, hung for treason at 21, regretted he only had one life to give. Great men. Thank
that's
you.
right. Thank you, Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. Happy Easter to you all. Happy Revolution Day. And thank you again, Colonel Adams, for joining us today. That was Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard, WashingtonGuard.com. You can reach out to him. Again, Colonel Adams, went over and he talked about, their muster tomorrow, which is going to be amazingly fantastic. And like Colonel Adams has said, not only can you, of course, join the Washington Guard and participate in the muster, but you can come out and be a guest, but you cannot just show up. You cannot just show up. So make sure that you reach out to the Washington Guard, WashingtonGuard.com, and you can go on their website. You can take a look around. You can send an email through there, find their contact information, not the address, but you can send them an email. Don't just show up. But I think that's fantastic. I would love to take a beekeeping course. And there's something out there called a flow hive. Now, how good a flow hive is, I don't know. I've read the reviews and it sounds pretty fantastic, but you buy a flow hive and it kind of takes the guesswork out of the beekeeping. You get this little box, you set it up, it's got its frames inside, clear windows so you can look in and see, your bees in action. And then once a year, sometimes more often, you can get your honey harvest. And by doing that, you just put some nozzles in, turn a lever, and out comes the honey. It seems pretty simple, and the reviews so far are pretty good. You can pick one up used. You can get one new for about $700-800. They have sales once a year, but I kid you not, I really do. I've been thinking about beekeeping myself, and I do think that it's something every one of us needs to do. You may not be successful, but do your best to learn and keep trying. We've got to somehow keep the bees alive. Because without the bees, guess what? All of this work we're doing, everything we're here and we stand for, it's all over. It would be the end of humanity. And so we've absolutely got to do our best to make sure it works out. But I wanted to switch gears a little bit, talk about some other stuff. Very happy for Colonel Joe Adams to join us. I do really truly appreciate his patience with me, because so many weeks I have to change my schedule. This past Wednesday, health was fine, but I had to work, and sometimes it just happens. And so he's been really fantastic when it comes to that. We were kind of touching base earlier on Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. Colonel Adams was talking about that. And I think it was Mary Teener that asked, well, why did El Salvador allow this to happen? Well, as far as President Trump goes, he really has no say in the matter. Senator Van Hollen can do whatever it is he wants to do. We can't stop him from leaving the country. Now we have, of course, the El Salvadoran president, who I think thinks it's really funny, Nayib Bukele. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. Bukele. I never can say his name or any other name right. He posted a very interesting post on social media yesterday that showed him playing chess, and he said he loves a good chess match. I shared that on my Facebook page. And I'll tell you what, that's exactly what this is to him. He's playing a game of chess. And there's really, who's going to be the victor here? Probably him, because we're paying him millions of dollars a year to house these MS-13 Tren de Aragua gang members. Anyone that we could potentially send over there that he will accept, they're there. And, and I realize people, of course, Democrats, they're saying, oh my gosh, we sent this guy there by mistake. And his name is Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. And if you saw the photos, I have some other photos to show. For whatever reason, I'm not able to show his photo. I can show all the other ones, hopefully, and not this one. But you can go on social media and find it. What's interesting is I started posting about it last night when it was first being released. And these were photos posted by Bukele himself on his own social media. People were coming onto my social media posts calling it clickbait. I'm like, seriously? If you come onto my post, you call it clickbait, guess what I'm going to do? Unfriend. I don't post clickbait. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people, I understand, they're like, there is no way this is true. That's how unbelievable this was. They're like, no way this is true. That has to be fake. It has to be AI. And I understand why people second guess everything these days, of course, but it absolutely was true. It absolutely was true. They released Garcia from prison for a very now at the beginning we didn't know. I don't think anyone knew. At least any American or journalist in this country knew exactly what was going on. So the first stories was that, oh, Garcia's been released. They're sitting at a table, everybody's happy, they're drinking margaritas, having some, food, hanging out. And so everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, he's been released." Senator Van Hollen's going to be bringing him back to the United States. Those were the initial thoughts. And I'm sure this is probably why Bukele posted the photo of him playing chess, because that was not the case at all. Yes, he was released temporarily. He did have some margaritas. Whether they were real margaritas, we don't know. I'm assuming they were. And allegedly, Senator Van Hollen just wanted to make sure he was okay. God forbid he's over there in that El Salvadoran prison. And then guess what? He had to go back to prison. He is not being released permanently. They wanted to do a wellness check. He came out, he was smiling, he was happy, he was not injured. You could see him very clearly. And then guess what? He went back into prison. Now, we're so worried about this MS-13 gang member who is now actually a terrorist, because MS-13 is a terror group at this point in time. And Democrats are so worried about this guy. We have prisoners being held in overseas prisons. And we're not over there getting wellness checks, are we? I don't see anyone fighting, protesting, or anything else for those lives. It's sickening the way that Democrats think. Absolutely sickening. You can go and you can look at the court documents of some of the crimes this guy has committed. He is not an innocent person. He's not an innocent person. He's been, convicted of domestic abuse. And then I see people who are advocates for the victims of domestic abuse speaking out publicly in defense of this guy. Does any of this make any sense? It does not make any sense at all. Mary says, next, the wife will get a visit. Oh, yeah, probably so, Mary. I mean, this guy's become a celebrity. It's so, so crazy. Good morning, Joe. Tara says, keeping bees is not easy. Tara, I agree. I've never tried to keep bees because it does not look easy at all, which is, of course, why I'm so glad the Washington Guard's going to give a little course on beekeeping, excuse me. And you can find some beekeeping classes as well at some local community colleges, different community centers. There's a lot of people out there. I think I've met people who are beekeepers, and they've told me that winter is the hardest. You really, really, really have to protect your bees during the winter. A lot of people lose their bee colonies over the winter. So there is a lot to it. It's more than just buying your queen and putting her out into your trays and then expecting a bee colony to magically form and there you have honey. There's so much more to it than that. But I'll tell you what, it's saving our planet, which is, of course, very, very important stuff. Now, something else I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about this crazy violence. Good morning, Tammy Jerry Hoover. And Tara, DePere Lodge just hosted a beekeeping class too. I did not know that. I'm going to make my way to one of these beekeeping classes whenever I have some time to do so, because I do think it's very important. I'll probably do a flow hive if I go down that route. Maybe I'm going to look into that today. Actually, I would like to have a flow hive. We can kind of keep tabs on it and see how things are going. As you guys know, there was a shooting yesterday at Florida State University. And the perpetrator of that crime, the shooter, was Phoenix Sickner. He turns out to be one of the deputy's sons. And you can go online yourself. You don't have to take my word. There is post after post after post. This guy, and I believe I have a picture here. My system is not great at pulling up pictures. So Phoenix Sickner. Now, this guy, 20 years old, absolutely despises Donald Trump, This guy hates us. Now, I haven't heard yet if he has a manifesto, what his goal was, and just last week, what we talked about, another guy who is into Satanism, who killed his parents so that he could leave his home and try to assassinate Donald Trump. It's like, I don't expect this to get better. I think it's going to get worse. These people are at their breaking point, and like we talked about at the beginning of the show, it's like dominoes. They've all reached their breaking point. Now they're all starting to fall. And who's in danger? I would say that would be all of us. All of us are in danger from folks like this. It's gotten to the point where they just can no longer help themselves. They hate us. They hate Donald Trump. They hate the world they live in under Donald Trump. There's no common sense to any of it. Just lies and propaganda from the leftist media, lies and propaganda. Paul says, let's see here. The left has no true policy that resonates with most of the American public. They're only doing what they're doing because those behind the scenes think that it will pull well. It's all theater. Every last bit of it is theater. And what ends up happening is these people, like this Phoenix Igner, yesterday at Florida State University, unfortunately, they take lives because of the media lies and propaganda. I would like to see all these news organizations shut down. I'm all for free speech. But when your free speech is taking the lives of other people, it's time for it to stop. I don't expect that to happen, but it's time for it to stop. And all of these people who are perpetrating the lies and the propaganda to make these people, they want them to break. Trust me, the whole goal of some of these news organizations like MSNBC, I hate to say it, even Fox National, you guys, most of you know how I feel about Fox National. They don't help things at all. They're a better alternative to a lot of other things, but I do not watch Fox National and I never will. Not going to happen. But they need to be prosecuted for the violence they're perpetrating. And some of these senators, members of Congress on the left, it's the same thing. They're perpetrating violence against the American people through lies and propaganda. People just have to open their eyes and see it for what it is. And Tara says, I have a friend in South City who keeps bees. Her honey is amazing. She said it's due to their urban environment and access to a huge variety of pollen. That makes sense, Tara. And, going back to bees, they say, especially if you're somebody who suffers from allergies and you eat local honey, it will help your allergies quite a bit. Joe Fry, good morning. I wanted to raise bees for the earth, not for the honey. I found out the way we do it is to steal honey from the bees and replace it with sugar water. Doesn't seem right to me. Also true. Tammy, good morning, Tammy. When you have celebrities using their flat platform to say such horrible things and out of the fear of God, put the fear of God in people about our leaders, it only adds to the hype. People can't handle their feelings any longer and don't know how to process it. You're absolutely right. It is a vicious cycle. And yes, our country does need God. Part of the problem, Tammy, is that a lot of these people on the left, and I'm not saying by any means all of them, a lot of them don't believe in God. So they don't believe that there's any punishment coming to them by the acts they commit. So to some, and trust me, this is only a small portion of Democrats that I'm talking about. And these are those folks on the very far fringe left, not your common everyday Democrat who probably does believe in God and goes to church and does everything like we do. They just see a different side of the political spectrum. There are people out there who don't feel that there's any punishment for harming us. And so there's really nothing there to stop them from acting out, which is really unfortunate. Paul says locally, Fox 2 News has gone off the deep end lately. They no longer try to hide where their loyalty lies. I learned about a lot about Fox 2 News through my former co-host, Vic, of course. And, he never really spoke badly about Fox News. I never heard that, but I know that there was a narrative that was pushed that he was not happy to push because, he wants the truth to be spoken, whatever side that truth may be on. And that he definitely recognized a narrative. Again, I don't recall him ever speaking badly, about the news station or any of the people who work there or any of the management staff, but it was very clear that there was a narrative. And I think that's the same with just about every news station. I really do. I don't watch the news at all. Not at all. Not at all. I get my news either direct from the source, from people on the ground, very closely related to the source, or through foreign news. That's the only way to do it. And Paul says, the only reason why I watch any local news is to watch the weather. Yeah, I do have an app that pops up with the weather, and I'm with you. There's only one way to see the local weather in your area. And for me, unfortunately, being out in the middle of nowhere, I'm in that cross between Chicago and St. Louis in that middle gray area. And so my TV gets Chicago news stations. So it's like I don't even see St. Louis news out here, even if I tried, which is kind of an entirely other story. Joe, Colonel Adams, check out Monica King on Facebook, good friend of mine and #1 beekeeper in the United States. That's a great idea, people. Check out Monica King if you want some information on beekeeping. Mary, I watch The Five on Fox and Newsmax. I like Newsmax. Newsmax is probably, if I had to watch news, Newsmax would be my favorite. I like America Online News, but I just don't watch any of it. I don't even watch Newsmax. I don't watch any of it. And Lori, I need to know the most unbiased news source. Did you say NPR? It is definitely not NPR. I used to love NPR, but they are just as far left as MSNBC these days, which is really a shame that it's come to that. But they are. I can't. It's not. I used to love the NPR. I used to want to work for them. Not anymore. If you're going to watch unbiased news, I would have to say Newsmax or America Online News. Those are really the only two. But even more so is just podcasters. Go out and find some podcasters you like. Listen to what they have to say. Take it with a grain of salt. Because we're just reading other stories from other people and trying to get our best information as possible. And let's see here, Albs. Max Velocity and Ryan Hall on YouTube are great for severe weather coverage. Thank you for that, because I've not watched, I think I may have watched Ryan Hall. I'm not sure of Max Velocity, but I'm going to do that because it does me no good at all to watch local news when it comes to weather, because St. Louis news doesn't really cover the weather here. Chicago news doesn't cover the weather here, kind of like in that little gray zone where we're just too far out from either city for them to really care about our weather, unfortunately. And good morning, Robert. And yes, happy Easter to you also. And yes, Paul, he has risen. Yes, Easter Sunday. Hopefully you guys all have some family plans for Easter Sunday. I don't have a plan. I'm getting my biopsy done on Monday. I'm going to be resting on Sunday, getting prepared for all of that, hoping to get some really good news. I've been eating my papaya seeds. I feel really good about things, so I'm not too concerned about it. I hate anesthesia, so I've already talked, and they're going to give me the little patch to kind of control the nausea, because I do not do well under general anesthesia. But I have no idea what I'm doing for Easter yet. Clearly a big family holiday, but I see my family all the time. We have dinner together all the time. So, we were talking about, like, what can we have for Easter? Because we've literally had everything there is to have over the past couple months. So we'll have to try to make a plan for that. Mary, St. Louis news, who has been shot? Yeah, every day in St. Louis. And so, I want to talk a little bit, speaking of news, about this situation between, it's so hard to even talk about, between Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. And you've all seen the post. Colonel Joe Adams was talking about it too, where there's a lot of talk about the Anthony family, staying in this. It's technically, people are saying $900,000 house. I think it's valued, I heard on Zestimate, $863,000. This new $100 and something thousand Escalade. And quite honestly, I don't know. I don't have the answer to it. Some people are saying, well, they purchased that vehicle before the shooting, that they have money. And, I've seen photos of the family. They look like they probably do have the means to purchase, an expensive home and a nice vehicle. So that's certainly possibly true. And I really just don't know. But I'm going to show you a couple of videos here, because I would really like to know who is the victim. I'm actually very angry about the situation. And I'm trying to be very careful what I say because of the anger that I have right now. One life was lost. One life. Well, two lives technically will be lost. One life lost. Now here we have Karmelo Anthony, and we have, of course, Austin Metcalf, the victim. Which one of these guys is the victim? Austin Metcalf is the victim, correct? And I'm telling you right now, before anyone's mind goes there, this is not about race. It is simply not about race. This is about right and wrong, good and evil. And what really happened that day? I don't know. I don't know if you know. I've read the police reports. I've read victim statements, but I truly just don't know. What I do know is that yesterday there was a press conference held by Karmelo Anthony's family. And what I do know is that Jeff Metcalf, who is the father of Austin, showed up at that press conference. He was absolutely blasted for it. He was asked to leave. He was escorted out by police because you know why? Because they want to portray him, his son, as being the aggressor. He is the one who lost his life. But they want you to believe that Karmelo Anthony acted in self defense. And maybe he did. I don't see it that way simply because Austin Metcalf, you know what? He didn't have a weapon. He had no weapon. He's a 17-year-old at a track meet, at a high school track meet. And this is not about color. It is not about race. What this is about is allegedly Karmelo Anthony's family, given that they do potentially have funds available, not funds that came through the fundraiser, their own family funds. They work, they have a beautiful home as it is, and a beautiful family, by the way. But it's not about race. It's the fact that they hired a PR firm, and that PR firm is twisting this case in so many different directions. And they want to portray. They want that's this. This is a confirmed photo. This is real. I had to look at it because I'm like, man, that sure looks like AI. But this was released by an actual news agency who confirmed that these are real photos of Karmelo Anthony. Now, you won't see that portrayed anywhere. The Karmelo Anthony's family is never going to talk about this situation. And Mandy, no, Karmelo did not go to school with Metcalf. They actually were at a track meet where there were several different high schools there together. Now, this is what the PR firm is passing around. There's a lot of different photos going around about Austin Metcalf, and this is one of them because they want to portray him, and this is where race comes into play. They want to portray him as your stereotypical white boy, NRA-loving, Trump-loving member of the NRA. That's what they're trying to portray. And D, Anthony was caught once before bringing a knife to school. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And, there are going to be some facts that come out. But in the meantime, what I want you to see is the press conference that was held yesterday. Now, I am not attacking the Anthony family. And they, I think, are going through just something no family wants to go through. Their son committed this very violent act. He took a life. They know he is facing potentially life in prison, potentially even the death penalty. And of course, as a parent, you're going to do every single thing you can. I really don't blame his family. I really don't. I hate that any of this is happening on either side. You cannot control what your children are going to do. You just cannot. You can do and be the best parent you can be, but you cannot always control what your children do. And I think the Anthony family, of course, they're going through turmoil. Of course, they're going to do anything and spare no expense of protecting their child. Who wouldn't, quite honestly? Who wouldn't? I don't blame them at all. But where I have to draw the line is bringing race into the matter. This is not about race. One kid died. He happened to be white. One kid killed that kid, and he happened to be black. But yet it's just not about race. And Joe Fry says they are praising the black kid for killing the white kid. The kid brought a fixed blade knife to a track meet and sat on the opposing side looking to kill someone. He said he was disrespected. Yeah, I will have to wait to see how this plays out in court because there's so much going on PR wise. I don't know if I've ever seen a case like this before, quite honestly. And somebody commented on a Facebook post of mine earlier, oh, you're just unbelieving that a black family could have money or could have wealth or could afford this home or that vehicle. It's not about that. It is absolutely not about that. It is simply about the fact that Karmelo Anthony he did take a life. Now, whether he did it in self-defense, I'm not a judge. I'm not a jury. I don't know. I don't even know the facts of this case because I have read, and have never really gotten down to the bottom of the truth. So I don't know where this case stands. We have to wait for it to play out in court. We have to see the judicial system in progress to see where things go. But it's not about race. I don't despise the Anthony family because of their color or because of even what happened. I feel absolutely horrible for them. They also have lost a son, but I don't like them playing victim. I don't like them playing victim. Dee says the PR firm that they hired has connections. The Black Lives Matter protest group, that is where they're getting all of this money from to buy the home and the new car. I've heard that, Dee. I can't prove it to be true, but I have heard it. Paul says, I blame the family for not doing the right thing. They're currently trying to cover it up and reconstruct the truth into better circumstances, or better known as lying. Well, would you lie to protect your child? I think a lot of people would. I really don't blame the family. It's hard for me to say that, but I keep thinking if it were my own child, how would I feel? What would I do? Would I be willing to go to literally any length to protect my child? And the answer is yes, I probably would. I think a lot of us would. But what I didn't like is that Jeff Metcalf, of course, Austin's father, showed up at the press conference. It's just my opinion, that he has every right to show up at the press conference. This is a press conference that was talking about the crime where his son lost his life. I think he had every right to be there, but he was escorted out by police. And I'm going to show you a couple videos from this press conference.
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later, is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak louder than words. Okay? What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate get bigger.
No, he is the victim's father. He has every right to be at a press conference that involves his son in the case that represents his son's killing. He has every right to be there. A press conference doesn't belong to one family or the other. It is a press conference about a case. And this attorney is absolutely 100% wrong. He has no business slamming the father of Austin Metcalf. It is absolutely disgusting.
And that is
in
your
my
constitutional
opinion.
right.
We'll continue on here.
It's people out here reminding us of the black struggle in America.
This is a trial that's going to take place. A trial between two kids. One had a knife. One took the life of the other. Who is the victim? And I hate to see this twisted and turned into Anthony being the victim. He is not the victim. He is the killer. Now, we may find out later down the road that he was acting in self-defense. And when that happens, we'll certainly deal with it at that time. And I'm not going to say that that's not a possibility. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I've heard witness accounts on both sides of things. But I see what's happening here. This is the PR machine hard at work. That's all this is. And then here is a video of, Nancy says, was there footage of the attack? I don't think there was, from what I understand. I don't think there was. Now, this is Karmelo Anthony's mother speaking. And again, I absolutely feel horrible for her. This is any mother's worst nightmare for your child, whether it's in self-defense or not, to have to go out and take another life. As a mother, you hate that. Now, that's me and my own personal feelings about the situation aside. As a mother, of course, you're going to do what you have to do to protect your children. But this is her statement. And I'm going to play this very quick clip for you because I am running out of time.
My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what may happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false.
They are not the victim. I feel for them. I really do. From the bottom of my heart, I feel for this family and everything they're going through, worried about their son, who is free, by the way, and at home, living, not his best life, I'm sure, but he is there. He's breathing. He's living. He's spending time with his family. He's not behind bars. They are not the victim. I'm sorry, but they are not the victims in this situation. Not the victims. And this is the reason why I'm talking about this today. And I only got like another minute to talk about it. We'll pick this up more as this case develops and we can continue to learn more. It's not about race. These people are not the victims. This is a situation in which two teens at a track meet, a high school track meet, one ends up stabbed in the chest, in the heart, and dead. Now, think of that what you want, but that doesn't sound like self-defense to me. But again, that is only my opinion. We will certainly talk about this more as the case continues to develop. And I'll tell you what, it's developing very quickly. Things are changing quickly. And there's a lot of information out there that you really just don't know if it's true or if it's not true. And I have tried, I have researched, I've tried to get to the bottom of this information to find out what is and is not true. And quite honestly, there's just no way to know. There's really no way to know. We're just going to have to see it all play out, probably, in court, and try to get to the bottom of the truth. But when I saw that video, I was really upset about Jeff Metcalf being forced to leave the press conference that's discussing his son's death and that's trying to turn the tables to make it sound like Anthony was the victim. That is not what happened here. Absolutely not what happened here. And I made the reference earlier on my social media page that, remember Casey Anthony, I know, also named with the last name Anthony. Remember when she allegedly killed her daughter, Kaylee? What an awful crime that was. Do you remember when she was released on bond and she was staying at that multi-million-dollar beach home in Florida? Oh my God, I was absolutely outraged. I was as outraged about that as I am this, maybe even more so that, because she killed her daughter, allegedly, and the woman is still free walking this earth, which also is against something I would believe in. Nancy, did the stabber have any markings on his body to show that he was attacked physically? From what I understand, Nancy, no. That's a good question. From what I understand, the answer is no. And it's my understanding that Austin Metcalf never touched him other than a poke. I think from what I've read through some of the witness testimony is that Karmelo Anthony said, "I dare you to touch me. I dare you." And then, kind of a joking around, Austin Metcalf put one finger out and touched him, like, well, what are you going to do about it? And then, and I think from there it kind of escalated. But from what I understand, Austin Metcalf never touched him, never physically assaulted him, never harmed him in any way. Karmelo Anthony allegedly reached in his bag, took out his knife whenever Austin Metcalf was trying to get him to leave, and stabbed him in the heart. I've not heard any other story than that. Back and forth. With all the back and forth, I've never once heard that Austin Metcalf put his hands on Karmelo Anthony. But again, I could be wrong. This is a twisty, turny case that's really, really changing things in the media and how people are thinking about it. And it's really dividing people up. And now, of course, the Anthony family, they have this new campaign where they have these T-shirts they're asking people to wear. So you're probably going to see those around your community about freeing Karmelo Anthony, and just causing more division and hate. And it's highly unfortunate that this has to turn into a race situation, because it's certainly not about race. And Joe Fry, Shaven didn't kill Floyd. He overdosed, but OJ did kill his wife and friend. This kid jumped straight up and stabbed him in the heart. Joe Fry, correct on all accounts. All right, guys, that is it. I got to go. I'm running out of time. I've got to get to work. But I do hope to see you all on Tuesday. Again, I'm having that double biopsy. It's like a robot-guided bronchoscopy. I have no idea how I'm going to feel afterwards. I think I'm going to feel pretty good. I might have a little bit of a sore throat on Monday, but I should be back at it on Tuesday. So I do hope you guys all have a fantastic Easter weekend, remembering what Easter is about, of course. And thank you to Col Joe Adams for joining us today. And I will look forward to seeing you guys all on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be careful, stormy weather coming through. Keep an eye on the weather channels and check out, I can't remember, was it Max Velocity and Ryan Hall? I'm going to download those with people on YouTube so I can keep a good eye on the weather here locally. Have a great week. If I can talk. Have a great weekend, everyone. I'm Tabitha Hassell with Tabs